All right. It is 6 p.m. on Tuesday, June 6th. Meeting of the Bantam Lake Authority. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Got President Mike Cicchetti, Peter Longo, Matt, what's your last name? How do you pronounce your last name?
Savage.
Savage. And myself. All right. Let's just keep an eye out for anybody joining us, like Tim and Connie. And then I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second. Michael, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on. Treasurer's report. Peter, thanks for doing this, by the way. Taking the time. You want to lead into that?
Yeah, so first page is the account balances, or hopefully that's the one you have up there. Account balances, we have 112,114, I'm sorry, 111,986.80 as of today. That's the year-end balance of 112,114, so that's where we're at today in the checking account. Next page is the income and expense. The date, we haven't had any income. Last year, that 9433 was that old check that we were able to get cash through Litchfield. And then in expenses, the only expenses in this year's column is for the jam handles, the stainless steel handles that Scott put on the jams. And the $2,500 in expenses last year were for buoys, ice sticks, and the river buoys and roll.
Yeah.
So very little activity. We don't have a bill here yet from a PJ boat. So I suspect that'll come, and that's really the only expenses in the outcome.
Yeah.
No lookout. So
You want me to contact him on that?
Yeah, I've asked him a couple times. I'll text him and after this meeting, just say, hey, got a bill for us. I know he's been flat out. I'd like to get him some money since he did destroy the boat. I mean, the boat is running great. You know, it's covered, it's over at the state launch.
Did you take it out?
Oh, yeah, no, we've used it. I mean, Tom and I, the buoys in, using Collins, Weedock's push boat. We've still got a couple buoys to put in and we've got to reset a couple. So I'd like to use the whaler for that, but it's running great. I did fix the strobe on it, the horn and the radios.
Okay.
So it's good to go. And the bimini is good. I mean, we use a little bit more of a cleaning, but no issues there. Okay. So it's floating, everything's good. And then, yeah, we want to talk about banking.
yeah, I mean, Scott mentioned take a look at, you know, some excess cash, man. We don't really forecast probably use of a lot of cash coming months, a year, or at least coming months. So one option is to invest some of it. I put together a little schedule there, something called an interest rate ladder. I mean, pretty simple. You just put, you know, this is an example. You invest in a 13-week and a 26-week T-bill. Right now, those are the rates they're getting as of the last auction, 5.38, 5.48. And then every time one comes to mature, you just always invest in the 26 weeks. So that every 13 weeks, you've got to
Keep rolling it.
just keep, well, you roll the ones that.
Right.
Yeah, you just keep getting another 26 weeks. So that the way you do it is every third. So we never have a liquidity problem because we get at least 40,000. I mean, I picked 80,000 as an example. But every quarter you have money come and due. So if you needed the cash, you know, it's not like a long term where you got to wait. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I just looked at a way for the BLA to be self-sufficient, given, you know, we're not going to get much money from the towns, but this is a way we can take the money, the cash we have, invest it.
Yeah, do something with it, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This interest rate environment's a joke. I mean, the banks aren't paying any. The interest rates are rising.
So you're saying that if you invested 80,000 at the end of the year, you'd make like $4,000 in interest. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
That's a home run.
Yeah.
So, and I put some rates on the bottom. You can see what Union Savings, you know, it's basically, you know, look at
Garbage.
jokes, right?
Yeah.
Litchfield Bank, the same thing. There's a Schwab. I looked at Schwab. Schwab has a pretty good CD that is.
Yeah, I think I have one at like Wells Fargo right now that's paying like 5 something.
There's a Schwab one at about 5 something.
What's the duration though, Peter?
I think that's that's a term deposit. I don't think that's a CD. That's just a
Oh, it's
money.
an SED?
I gotta look more at it, but I mean, obviously, I think treasury bills are probably safer and I don't think we'd get criticized for investing in T-bills.
Right, yeah, you're not,
Let's say
there's no risk.
Yeah, the only issue, Tom, is I went on Treasury Direct because I have an account with them, you know, for my own stuff and that's for an EIN. So the question is, I mean, we're tax exempt anyway, so can we have an EIN with the town or does the town even have, must that?
We have one. I thought. Is there a way to look up to see if the Lake Authority had one?
I will. I haven't done
We used
that.
to pay. Wages. Through the Lake Authority for the Lake Patrol.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
you
true.
must have one.
So it has to be, all right, let me do a little.
You gotta-
search.
you have to.
I'll take that. I didn't have time today.
Yeah.
I'll search for an EIN. If so,
Yeah,
Were tax returns ever filed, do you know?
way back when
If
we
you're paying
had,
wages.
Yeah. they did audit and all
yeah,
that.
they have to have payroll tax.
What we could do is we could also like look at guidestar.org. If we're 501c3, we might be listed
I
there.
don't think we are. I think we're quasi
Since
municipality.
you are a really part of municipality, you are tax exempt.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But still through the state of Connecticut then.
I probably have an EIN if we were a prior employer, you're right. So let me do a little search. I'll search, but if I do find one, what do you want to wait till the next meeting to vote on it or should we just?
No, I mean, I think we have it. I mean, I think, you know,
Listen, I've done some of this myself. So I'd be in favor of doing it.
yeah, the only thing.
Going forward.
The only thing that I had a question on is given our sort of account balance, we've got almost $112,000.
Do 90, you can.
I mean, I was,
You can do more. You can do.
at one point, Pete and I talked about 100, but then we haven't paid PJ yet. So I was like, oh, if we do 90, we can always add the 5 or 10 later on. I think we don't need that much cash is what I'm
Yeah, I
saying.
picked 80 as an example, but we could do 90 and if we need it, then when the 13 weeks comes due, we just
Exactly.
take 10 off it. You know, we don't have to renew it for always.
You can't see any emergency thing coming up, right?
All right, well, I guess we have.
I'm good either 80 or 90. Whatever everybody's most comfortable with.
I mean, personally, I would do 90, and let's just,
You have 22.
yeah, that leaves us $22,000 in cash. Yeah.
Well,
When is the last time we spent $22,000? Ask that question.
Huh?
When is the last time we spent 22,000?
Yeah.
Not ever.
Yeah.
Records I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have
Go
a,
back.
Let's do 90 then.
so I have
Make a motion?
Yeah.
I can make a motion, we invest $90,000 into the T-bills.
I mean, and we're doing basically an interest rate ladder,
Mhm.
as Pete has described. Do I have a second? Second, thank you, Michael. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll get right on it. I'll send an email out once everything's locked down, just so you.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Thanks, Peter. This is like
Yeah.
really good. Next piece on the agenda, and I was really hoping to have Tim and Connie. Connie, Charlie, speaker of the devil, been kind of hanging out. Hey, Connie.
here a little while.
Connie, you there? Maybe she was muted.
Could be connecting and filling up.
Yeah, she's there.
Participants are you.
Yeah, she said she was calling in. So next item on the agenda was the Phantom Lake Authority Charter. I sent it in my packet. I have one copy with me if people want to sort of look at it in terms of, so the reason I wanted to bring up our charter is I think it impacts everything we talk about and sort of coming up in new business. Hey, Connie. Because one of the things is in terms of Phantom Lake Authority talks about the reason for its creation and composition, but then under section 1173, it says powers. In addition to the powers granted in section 7-15A of the general statutes, the following additional authority is hereby granted to the Phantom Lake Authority. One is control and abatement of algae and aquatic weeds in cooperation with the state water. Obviously, we're working with Bantam Lake Authority, Bantam Lake Protective Association on that. Number two is the one I think that's most prevalent right now is the enforcement of any town ordinance or state law affecting Bantam Lake. And so this goes into sort of, I think, a bigger discussion regarding navigational hazards and dock placements, given the inland wetlands dock policy. And then the third was to study water management, including but not limited to water depth and circulation. And then the Bantam Lake Authority shall have no authority in any area presently controlled by the Fish and Game Commission. Anybody have any questions on sort of the charter itself?
See something on navigational hazard?
No, I don't. It's the only thing is the enforcement of any town ordinance or state law affecting Bantam Lake. And so it's really comes up under the state law in terms of, that piece. And that's why I have reached out to Deep, regarding sort of placement of, I'm specifically talking on West Shore and Burnetto Grove, the pontoon boat. There's a pontoon boat that's moored, has a brand new mooring that's pretty far out.
Oh, Peter was, and I were talking about that the other day. How far out is it? Does anybody know? Very far.
It's more
Gotta be
than,
400 feet out.
yeah,
What?
It's out.
yeah, it's over 800 feet for sure.
It's in near Doug Swan's old place, just north of Doug Swan's.
Yeah.
Now, what gives them the right to put that there?
Good question.
Well, I mean, so I talked to somebody there. I swung by there and took some photos.
Yeah,
And when I was there, the person lives in Burnetto Grove. So there's a passway right there. And so there are boats that are moored.
mhm.
And so the only thing I can think of is she just placed it based on, there's a inboard farther in. So I think in terms of she placed it there. And so I have reached out to Deep twice. They've turned it over to another department, but I haven't heard from that department in terms of just who really has responsibility in terms of determining if it's a navigational hazard. Based on Connecticut law right now, also, you're supposed to be at a no wake speed within 100 feet of that in a boat and 200 on a jet ski, and it's way out.
Right.
My
If you have to go around it,
correct.
normal path.
You can almost go inside it, it's that far out.
Yeah, that's a hazard.
Yeah, so my concern is how far out it is. It's on a pretty long rope as well, so it's got a good swing.
Yeah, big,
Mhm.
longer
Big
than
swing. And then I just worry about dusk or something like that, at this time of night
Oh, yeah, somebody hit that thing.
or early morning, somebody might not see
You
it.
say it's on a rope?
It's on a buoy, it's on a mooring,
Okay.
but it has a very long rope.
400 feet out. That's crazy.
So that-
I wouldn't say 400, it's over, maybe there for sure.
Wow. I'm gonna take a ride by there tomorrow and look at it.
Yeah, so if you go down to Burnetto Grove, it's in there.
Mhm.
So that's something I do feel like, needs to get addressed.
I think I wrote an email. I don't know if I copied all you guys, but I think, you can take another approach. It's just like I was thinking of what you see on the side of the road when you go by a disabled car. It's a big orange sticker, right? Why don't we have stickers made up? I mean, Matt Burns can do it. And just basically say something like, Bantam Lake Authority, request, you take act, we request you take action of the following navigational hazard. And then in a Sharpie, you write down, please move this. Not like we're saying you must do it, but just take the kind of the good person approach. Well, I think most people are gonna act on it.
That's how I feel as well. I mean, I took down the registration, of course, it's from New Jersey. I thought it would, is it within our right to be able to just at least put something in the boat? We're not going on the boat, but like on the
Right
console.
to ask. I mean, the way I word it, it's almost like we're asking as opposed to, saying you, thou
Right.
shall,
Yeah.
Does anybody know if there's a town ordinance that affects where? I mean, I always heard that you had 100 feet out from shore, whether there's any.
Well, that's where 5 miles an hour, I think. That's state.
Well, when Mike Pate was still working at DEP, he felt it was up to the DEP to determine what a navigational hazard was. And he said it was all kind of based on where it was located. If you're out on a point and you go out 150 feet, you're way out. But if you're kind of in a little tucked into something, it's not so bad. So he would come out every once in a while and go around the lake to find navigational hazards. In fact, the Camp Westing, for many years, they're pretty far out.
Mhm.
They end up getting pulled back into shore a bit because
Yeah.
you literally go down into South Bay, then go out around Camp Wasting, go back to the town beach and around the boat launch. And
Yeah.
it was way out there. So
It's,
someone at boating,
they moved it based on a recommendation from Deep,
but the Lake Authority would contact Deep.
Yeah.
Come out.
but Deep would come out.
which I've done,
Mhm.
trying to get them to come out. So I'll follow up with Deep tomorrow, and if I don't hear anything, I have no problem writing a letter and putting it in an envelope.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, why not?
it's part of Phantom Lake Authority.
Yeah, I mean, we just ask, we asked that you take action. Opposed, there's nothing wrong with asking somebody to move it. I mean, if they don't, then you gotta deal with DEP, right? But
Well, I agree, there's nothing wrong with asking, but if we had authority, we could ask in a stronger tone.
I don't think we do. And that's the $1 million question. I don't think we have to. I got to note the DEP, they're sending to another department. It's gonna be Labor Day by the time they get back to us, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah,
Sadly, I think they're all kind of located down the old line,
they are.
which is a long haul for them to get
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah.
I do have to leave.
All right.
The town of Morris will probably be applying for a swim area permit for the town beach.
Mhm.
We're having a place, they come do a survey or the permit. So hopefully we'll have that together for not for wetlands, maybe for you guys for the next meeting.
Really, for next meeting, yeah.
I don't know how it works anymore with DEP and as the authority now, but I imagine still some local input.
I think it's more probably, that would be probably more us.
I think we should just take the initiative and, what's the worst that can happen? DEP will come in. DEP is so understaffed anyways. So they probably welcome the help.
Yeah,
We don't do anything unreasonable, right?
they're gonna say, thanks for handling it.
Yeah.
We don't do anything unreasonable.
All right.
As long as it meets their standards.
And
Correct.
the other thing, before you go, Tom, is, why Memorial's put these buoys way out, the Sandy Beach has got buoys way out. I mean, the more you do this, you just make the lake smaller, and if people are staying 200 feet away from that stuff. It's just, to me, it increases the safety problems. There's no way Sandy Beach, they don't even have a swim ramp anymore.
You should contact DEP, ask for their old records, because I think there was something on Sandy Beach, because we kind of redid that many years ago. Because it was getting a little way out there,
Yeah, it's like,
hold them back. And the same thing, I think I might have the records on Wasting.
Okay,
I'll get them to you.
that'd be great.
and White Memorial has got, I think,
White Memorial never had anything with what Lake Authority that I know of, any permitting for all the moorings or anything.
they've got some moorings that are, I think, way out there. It's just, like I said, I just think that more people do this, you just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some acreage.
Exactly.
Okay,
Have a good night.
see ya. They get, I kind of jumped ahead, so I have new business last. Old business, the buoys are in, we've got, I think, 2 left to put in, so really all the rock buoys are in for the season. That'll look good. We just have to really adjust one by Pete's house. Peter, thank you for putting the river buoys in. That worked out well.
Fine.
So the river, oh, yeah, you did. So the river buoys are in on, the jams are in. All.
You didn't call me. It's
All
fine.
right.
That's all right.
I got them all in. I just got to put the top ones. I put handles on them because they go in and out so fast.
Yeah, good.
And Pete and I did them and but they're in. I've got to put just the top one in,
Mhm.
which the water is just seriously flowing still. So but
Did the contractor ever finish the riprap along the?
no, but Raz, I met with Raz and they agreed to do it. It has, when I was there, today's Tuesday, when I was there Thursday, it still hadn't been done. So I've got to.
Who agreed to do it? Raz himself or the Litchfields?
Raz, Litchfield, yeah. John Torrin in a meeting.
Yeah, we're gonna be going right through there with the greenway soon.
Okay.
Yeah, we got funding now, so we're gonna put a bridge over those existing abutments near the bus, just past the buses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's where the buoys are.
yeah, so
Down a little bit by the bus.
Yeah,
we just got a couple of big grants.
Walkway bridge, you mean?
Yeah, it'll be the same bridge that we put over Butternut Brook.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's like 5 feet longer.
Hmm.
And that's it. Yeah, the same bridge, and then they're gonna go up over High Bridge. So we're gonna be working like along that whole other bank over there. Getting that all cleared out and everything.
Wow. That'd be great.
That'd be cool.
Okay. Any other old business right now?
Yeah. Jams. The wake boats we talked about.
Yeah, that's on new business I got. So,
Got it.
so on new business, we had already talked, jumped ahead in terms of talking about the navigational hazard with the pontoon boat. Can follow up on. The second piece is I did receive a letter tonight, which also was sent to Mike Doyle at Inland Wetlands and Tom Wyke, from Chris and Kathy Hill. Asking about raising concerns about the rumor on this in town is that on Route 209, I don't know if you've driven by there, that guy's talking about opening, said to somebody that he's gonna have a 15 slip marina there, which he can't because it's deemed residential. What was this?
You know where the Naugatuck camps are, you know, like when you come on 209, we just get on 209.
Yeah,
On the left, you have all those little white.
Yeah.
houses. The next
house.
house north.
So there's
From from the Morris side?
Going north.
north on 209.
going north on 209 before, so it's well before Beverly's.
Isn't it going?
I think it's a Skilton house.
Yeah. Okay, the cottages are on the left, kind of going up that, there. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's 3 docks now. Well, there's 2 docks in front of the property. I believe those old docks, the big docks came from Woodridge Lake, their old marina docks. And his old dock is farther down the property. So it looks like he created another landing so there's 3 docks, there's 4 docks now in a row, but one of those docks belongs to the house out back. So the concern is a couple things. One is, I don't want to jump to conclusions that, you know, what is being said in town is that he's trying to open a marina. But obviously this goes into inland wetlands. The reason it comes to Bantam Lake Authority is, you know, we're basically charged with enforcing inland wetlands policies. And so for inland wetlands, couple things. One is only 1 dock, 1 boat lift, and either 1 rowing shell or 1 float is permitted per shoreline property. And use shall be private associated with the residential commercial. So number 2, we're not 100% sure he's using commercial, but there's more than 1 dock there. The other concern that was raised by Kathy Hill and Bantam Lake Protective as well is that the docks are built out of, they're using styrofoam for flotation, which is material for flotation of docks shall be as follows: only non-corrosive encapsulated impact resistant buoyancy material that is resistant to fragmentation. And so the concern also then is on, you know, the use of styrofoam for flotation. Well, I mean, the styrofoam is fine until muskrats or something start eating at it and also gasoline will eat right through it, which causes obviously.
So if you get a little bit of a spill, it's gonna eat it right up.
So, and then obviously the square footage requirement, because for Morris, their dock, inland wetlands regulation says dock 360 square feet of total surface areas, including access ramp.
You said 1 dock per property?
1 dock per property.
Right now he has 3?
Well, there's 2 there and then there's 1 farther down, but I was told that he was just approved a second building lot, so. But there's 3 docks there now.
Okay.
With that.
You could kind of shut them down.
Yeah.
And that in general.
And then also. Connie was checking to see under Connecticut guidelines, you need a permit to put a dock on 209. And so when she checked, there was only 1 permit. So he's in violation of Connecticut regulations because he only has 1 permit. And then for inland wetlands, for Bantam Lake Authority, I look at it as dock construction, i.e. flotation. And then we dock size, I guess. We don't know for 100% certainty that he's intending to use it commercially. There are 2 pontoon boats there right now, but he could own both those boats.
And an aeronaut team, which I think DeRosa is supposed to.
Yeah, but that's actually the house out back. Because there's a house behind it. So the aeronautique goes with the house out back, not the White House.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, my feeling is, I know there's an inland and wetlands meeting this week, which this is going to be brought up, but I think under Phantom Lake Authority, we should be writing a letter to the owner of the property regarding the use flotation square footage, and questioning whether it's residential or commercial use, and that he's only allowed one dock
Per lot.
per lot.
Like you said, if he just got approved for another lot, he could potentially say, I'm doing one per lot.
Correct.
But he's,
Three docks are right there right now, so I'm not sure which dock goes with what.
okay,
Okay,
What's the zoning there?
it's all residential, so there's no commercial. I did
How's he,
Lake residential.
how's he running a commercial business?
Well, we don't know if he is. See, that's where I don't want to jump to conclusions.
it's the word on the street.
It's the word on the street.
Yeah.
Usually that's pretty.
I've had a few,
Pretty accurate.
I've had a few people call me to say, I heard that he's operating a marina,
Mhm.
but I haven't talked to him. And so I don't want to jump to conclusions, I don't know. That could be, the marina line could be third, fourth,
Yeah.
fifth say.
It could be somebody's,
Say friends and family,
Correct.
okay,
It probably takes.
it could just be somebody's observation that they go, it looks like he's running a marina there.
I do feel, that given Bantam, given our charter, given the ordinance, we have a responsibility to address this with him.
But the 360 square feet is a slippery slope because we haven't, as many other docks.
Well, and that's my concern is,
Single them out.
single him out in terms of the square footage. I want to focus more on more than one dock or lot and the use of styrofoam.
Okay.
Because, the way this 360 square feet works is it's based on, if you had the dock prior to 2004, you kind of grandfathered, there's just a number of these regulations. And, truthfully, I think this also should fall under planning and zoning because I think it's a slippery slope when you've got somebody who owns 20 feet of waterfront
Right.
has the same rights as somebody who has 200 feet of waterfront or something like that, in terms of like, you're going to tell somebody, they can only have one lift, but they have 200 plus feet of waterfront or something like that. I mean, it's a slippery slope. Plus the 360 square feet or 350, we've got docks that have to be out over 100 feet because there's only 3 or 4 feet of water.
Right.
So, they're going to be
All of a sudden you're at 600 feet of dock space.
600 square feet.
Just to get up to the
Just
waist.
to the waist, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. And then this guy could point that out and be like,
yeah.
go away.
Yeah, so my feeling is we're really focusing more on sort of the flotation and also the number of docks
Or
per,
docks. I think that's
It's got three properties.
well, no, 2 properties.
Oh, is that?
3 docks,
We've got 3 docks,
2 properties.
I believe 2 properties.
But I think the commercial aspect is also something.
Well, I'm gonna raise that.
If he's running a business, I mean, you can find out who the boats are registered to.
Yeah,
And if happens to be his daughter, that's one thing, but if it happens to be somebody from New Jersey or New York,
yeah.
that's,
Right.
Yeah.
Then you can shut them down.
So I mean, so we need to investigate this a little bit. This is on also inland wetlands agenda.
Is there a regulation on how many boats you can have on your dock or not?
No. No, there isn't.
Intruding?
Yeah, we're at Phantom Lake Authority meeting,
What's that?
Phantom Lake Authority meeting.
Oh. Okay, well, there's a zoning meeting at 7.
We'll be done.
Okay.
donations if you're interested.
Okay. So we in agreement, write a letter.
Absolutely.
I'll share the draft with all of you before it goes.
Yep.
And obviously I will draft something for the pontoon boat as well.
Let me just throw this out as food for thought. How about a town ordinance that controls to go back to the dock, the length of a dock, and a town ordinance to cover some of these issues? It seems like we're operating without a lot of direct backup.
I agree.
I agree.
I mean, if you look at Bantam Lake Authority, it talks mostly about things that protective associations do.
Is already doing.
But they're a nonprofit, but I'm saying, You know, it's a lot of it's aquatic stuff that quite frankly, that's not, we don't need to do that. It's being done by someone else. I mean, you can keep it in there, we
Yeah.
can stay,
But
something that, that's key.
put some meat
I agree.
I know, I agree.
So right now, all we do, we run around and move jams on the
Yeah,
dam and we
exactly.
freaking put buoys in. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
and the length of a dock could be dependent on where the dock is located.
Correct.
If you have shallow water and you need to be out 100 feet, then okay, somebody can make that decision. The Bantam Lake Authority can make that
Yeah,
decision.
no, I agree, Mike, I agree with you 100%.
And if somebody applies for a dock, we can go out and do an inspection.
Well, there is a, dock
I mean, if
permit
someone's got
application.
inside like a cove
Hmm.
and shallow and it's not, it doesn't stick, even if it's longer than 350, it doesn't cause a navigation.
Yeah,
Let it, you let it happen.
and there's discretion, but in every decision that's made by any group, there's always discretion.
Who reviews those now, Scott, when they do them? Who reviews them?
No, there hasn't been any review. I mean, they started this years and years ago, because I remember my neighbor, was like permit number 1 or something, and he's an engineer, and they're actually using his like drawing
Mm.
as sort of the model application.
Okay,
So, but yeah, there isn't, and this is one of the things, has been brought up, I mean, I know Inland Wetlands was talking about trying to get the docks numbered for 911, which is becoming more common. Lake Warmog does it, Island Lake does it,
Yeah, put your house number on.
you know,
It's like that in Florida, it's required. That's no big deal.
yeah, it's no big deal, but that's something that they were working on, I look at the regulations, that are here now, and I just feel like, we have to sort of pull in more than one department, but I also agree with you, like, who's taking control of, this process?
I agree. We need a rewrite. I mean, the whole thing needs to be just reviewed and, it's just old and outdated.
Yeah.
It's the.
I mean, because my
Problem is
concern,
We won't probably get it done for this summer, but we can at least start. on it.
yeah, I mean, my concern is more about trying to be neighborly, not encroaching on your neighbors
Mhm.
when docks cross sort of those lines, I know you don't own your waterfront, but you draw that imaginary line,
Yeah.
trying to be a good neighbor.
so I'm on ZBA in Litchfield, and last month we had a meeting, and 2 neighbors on North Shore
On North Shore.
were arguing big time. And they got way out of line, because one of them wants to put a ramp on his house for handicap, but then they started bickering about their docks and how they were spaced. And the guy who was complaining, the other neighbor brought up, he said that DP told him he had to move his dock like farther away from this guy. And he never did it, but then he was complaining because this guy put the wing off his dock the other direction, and I didn't have room, so they were going off on each other.
These were these. Because I'm on North,
Huh?
I'm on North Shore.
I think it's in the center where those 2 docks are almost touching each other.
That's the one, that's the 2 guys.
Yeah. I
Yes,
know exactly where it
Is there
is.
any mention of Bantam Lake Authority at all?
they didn't mention anything.
See, I tell you, Bantam Lake Authority's got no,
But-
we've been
but-
defunct for so long.
Yeah.
But the one neighbor said there was a letter from Deep that told that guy he had to move his dock over because he was too close to whatever he was. I didn't get into the exact reason, and then he didn't do it.
Yeah, if you walk down the street, it's
Yeah.
like halfway down
Yeah,
from your
yeah.
house.
Yeah, those are the guys. Their docks are, one has a leg off and he's blocking the other one out.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah,
The
we got to see him.
line for the Morris Litchfield line goes right through my property, or my memorial's property. But I think most of that water must be in Litchfield, no?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, the beauty of the authority is Litchfield.
Litchfield and Bantam.
Yeah.
Cover both towns, so.
And Morris.
But I mean, if we were gonna get an ordinance, I don't think Bantam could, Morris, both an ordinance on Litchfield. I think you'd have to have both towns.
You'd have to both towns.
Good point. So
Yeah, you would.
that's a very good point. In the,
I think both towns will cooperate.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't see
Absolutely.
a problem, but I'm just like, I think you'd have to have it done that way.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right, I will work on that tomorrow. Okay, next piece was, Pete, you want to talk a little bit more about this? Because I've been involved with it, but in terms of just.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of movement, especially in the Midwest about these wakeboard boats, these wake boats are making.
Boats.
Surf boats, I'm sorry. Surf boats are making waves that are, pretty big. And I know in the Midwest, there's a big move to regulate because the waves cause erosion. The primary issue is erosion, waterfront. So Lake Warmog is latched onto it. They've actually issued a map and they've issued, I don't know if it's an ordinance or regulation, I don't know if it's a guideline, but they've actually put a map out where they say no wake surfing is allowed. It was an entire cove and then it was 200, I think they opened it to 200 feet around the shoreline.
Yeah.
Have you seen many of them on the lake yet?
What, sir? Oh, my, yeah, it's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're there.
I talked to the president of Mastercraft a few years ago when I was at a boat show. He said less than 10% of his boats are regular ski boats anymore.
Really?
Yeah, that's all. People are just buying these big, expensive wakeboard boats. I'm sorry, surf boats.
What is that? If you don't mind my ask.
It's the boat that it takes on weight and has special dampers that actually creates a 3 foot, 4 foot wave behind it. And you can surf behind it within, at 11 miles an hour, you can surf within 5 feet of the boat. And you can go all day. I mean, you could literally, it creates a way, you know.
And you got no rope or anything. You're just surfing the wake.
Yeah.
It's the most popular, it's the most popular water sport now, I think. But anyways, long story short,
Those got to be really bad for the shoreline.
yeah.
They're pumping those.
Also, it's,
So what did Lake Warmog?
Lake Warmog put a map out which says you cannot wake surf within these areas. They put a great, you know, a hash marks around. And it was mostly 200 feet around most of the lake, but it was that North Cove. The entire cove is
I know what, somebody's on that Lake Warmog Authority, whatever their title is, because years ago, I did a lot of work getting them designated as a heritage lake.
so.
Let me check, I'm gonna check.
So the Protective Association been talking about at least putting up signs.
Let me check that out.
The Lauren Towns agreed to that basically say, hey, try not to wake surf in close to shore. Try not to make repetitive passes. Keep the music down. Because all these boats come equipped with these things.
Yeah, I know.
No wake surfing in South Bay, which I quite frankly don't understand. I mean, I know it's shallow there. Most people won't wake surf.
most people won't wake surf there.
Because as soon as you go into a shallow area, the wake just flattens.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, does it?
yeah,
Okay.
so,
Well, I think this is another example of why the Bantam Lake Authority have more authority.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's one of the things.
so this was, you know, kind of a guideline they asked, this was more of a, you know.
I recently sent Connie a whole study on surf boats and, because out in the Midwest, like,
Big study done.
yeah. I don't know if she shared it with you, but in terms of
I've
just
seen that.
looking at in terms of, you know, the shore erosion, but also in terms of the lake bottom, how much it's stirring it up and, you know,
You're throwing,
Packing.
silting up the lake big time.
correct, because you're just stirring everything up. I mean, you know, I think this is a good starting point. I mean, we've got to get obviously deep approval to put the signs up. You know, the big thing also is we had a meeting that with Deep like a month ago, 3 weeks ago. One of the things was the state now. I mean, Tommy mentioned it briefly, you know, being able to hire a constable.
Mhm.
And they haven't sent me the guidelines yet, but the state of Connecticut now is willing to do revenue sharing towards authorities. So if because previously they would take all the revenue. So if we ticketed somebody, they'd get all the money,
Mhm.
but we'd have to pay the constable. So it was a lose-lose.
Yeah.
Now they're willing to give us like 40%. But they've also taken it one step further where we don't have to hire, say, somebody who's armed,
Mhm.
where if you do some training, okay, you could hand out tickets, Mike,
Mhm.
but okay, you can't, you know, give a DWI test, you know,
Yeah.
or anything like that. But at least we could, you know, hire sort of regular people who've done the training to do some basic ticketing, which would generate revenue and also then pay for the expense. So it's something I'm looking into.
Mhm.
Deep's just been really slow to get back to me regarding what are the requirements to be able to do this? Because we've got the boat. My frustration is we have a boat.
Right.
And if we could hire somebody, it would help them. Because right now Deep they said they're down, I don't know, 16, 18 officers.
Are you really?
Huge number. And then you got people retiring. So like, they're not gonna have enough officers to, you know,
Right.
really manage our lake. Now when Candlewood and others are out of control.
Yeah.
I do want to talk to Candle Lake Authority because, you know, they've got obviously a lot of guys, running out.
Surf boats must be big out there, because they get that long rip. They
Yeah.
can go and go.
So there's, deep in terms of the constable piece, obviously, the wake responsibility, I think that's a good starting point. I think it's gonna be hard to enforce. I mean, I think it's good for us to, it's a good
Is it-
starting point.
But is there any reason why we can't put these signs up?
Deep has to sign off on it and give permission to put the signs up
Well, at least at the state law.
at the state launch. We can put them up on the town launch.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so those can go, I mean,
We can put them at Litchfield and Morristown town launches. then.
correct. Yeah, which is, I think, a good starting point,
Yeah, absolutely.
for sure.
But again, those are just guidelines, right?
Those are just guidelines, correct?
Yeah.
Back to your point about authority. we already
Yeah, so there's no ordinance yet.
Mhm.
And to get an ordinance passed, it would require Morris and Litchfield to pass it. So I think we do have to work on beefing up our charter, but also our
And
working with inland
I think
wetlands.
if we don't, then we're gonna have people, if somebody can put.
It becomes a
out
free-for-all.
300 feet or whatever it is, 400 feet, then everybody's gonna be putting their dock out. Way out.
Mhm.
Some people just don't have a clue. I mean, that.
Exactly.
whoever Did that pontoon, but I'm sure they're just clueless.
Yeah,
They just, well, there's a boat there, so let me come way out here and let me make it, not realizing
yeah,
that if some night
Yeah.
somebody's gonna smash into that thing.
yeah. I think it was just an innocent mistake. I mean, no. But
I think I'd have a little more skepticism.
yeah,
You gotta give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, all right.
Take it in front of them.
That's fair enough, fair enough.
It's longer, they got a row to get
out. swim. Since we have tonight.
I think you covered, I mean.
What is, I mean, in terms of family protective, just in terms of like, what do you guys, when's the first treatment? Getting a lot of calls. Do you know when you guys are
No.
related?
There's a meeting, we're having a meeting next week. Last year we only did one, so I mean, I'm not sure what they're.
Are you doing weed treatment?
Yeah, I think they only did one weed treatment. They did a couple copper sulfate treatments. But this Connie, she's not on too.
No, she's not on. That's why I was just wondering, because she had, was wondering if we would support in terms of any kind of funding for that as well. I mean,
You're talking about the alum.
yeah, the alum.
Oh, that's a different issue. Spend about $40,000 a year on treatment, copper sulfate and weeds, but there's a discussion about alum.
What does alum do?
Alum's aluminum sulfate, and basically think about it like this, simple terms, because I'm not a scientist. It puts a blanket, almost think about a blanket on the sediment.
Mhm.
What that does, that'll last 10 to 15 years. And it keeps the algae from going anatropic, or whatever they call it.
Mhm.
And the lake heats up,
Yep.
the algae rises, a lot of oxygen. Well, this kind of, think of aluminum sulfate, and it's totally safe. It's inert. It just kind of sits on the bottom. Problem is, it's expensive. The quote to do the lake is about 2.2 million.
Oh,
Can you do sections or you gotta do the whole thing?
Yeah, you gotta do
You got to probably do the whole thing, I would
the
think.
bulk of it, otherwise it kind of just flips out from under the blanket.
Okay.
I think you can, and again, those are answers I don't have, but. So the bigger issue with the lake, as you know, is there's a Woodridge Lake Sewer District has got a problem, right? And for the last 30 years, there's been a consent order for them to improve their wastewater treatment facility. That facility is putting into the watershed, primary, it's like they say 40 or 50% of the nitrogen and phosphorus in Banham Lake
it's coming from that.
is coming from that.
It's coming down that far.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Comes down to, it's a 21-mile watershed.
That's rough.
And so there's a lot, in fact, we're meeting with the DEP on Friday. There's a big movement about, have them shut down their treatment facility and tie into Litchfield's, run a pipe down Beach Street. That's gonna be like an act of God.
Yeah.
Oh, the signs they had out on Beach Street a couple of years ago when they were talking about it.
They
That'll be
also, Woodridge Lake people are very cooperative. And they want to do something about it. The
Yeah, they're
problem is
trying-
there's been a consent order since 1989.
Right, they've been trying to do something through Torrington for a while, but there was a big opposition to that.
That was the other, that was the
Yeah.
first, that was probably the best option. is to
Yeah.
Go through to Torrington. Torrington got a little antsy because right around the golf course, there's wetlands, or an aquifer or something that they said it would disrupt. The other issue is Goshen's a town, Litchfield's a town, the Department of Agriculture has purview, so they would give you low interest, no interest funding. Goshen's a town, Torrington's a city, and they're not part, it would not be part of a Department of Agriculture grant, so that was the second reason. So these guys in Woodridge Lake are looking to, I'm trying to make a long story shorter, but they're trying to do something, and right now, the best thing would be to tie into Litchfield's. And Litchfield is 24% of the people in Litchfield are tied into the sewers. It's its own authority, WPCA.
It has the capacity.
They don't really deal much with the town, and they're almost like an independent source. And they, quite frankly,
I don't know if they have the capacity. I think they would have
they
to.
do
I
have
think
the
they
capacity.
have to, they do.
They have, well, two things. They have the capacity now, 90,000 gallons a day is what they need from Goshen. They have, they're great. Don't quote me on these numbers, but they're like 700,000 capacity. They're only using 500 something. So there's capacity. However, they need to have an upgrade. Their system needs to be upgraded.
They do. I know.
They hired an engineering firm to do a study of the upgrade. What we asked is that, well, while you're doing this, can you do the two-part study? One part, here's what it costs to upgrade you, Litchfield, and part two, here, what would it cost to improve you, upgrade you, and add enough capacity for Woodridge Lake? And they said they wouldn't do it. They're just doing part one. But they need to do an upgrade. And Woodridge Lake is that they spent $2 million on studies. They were gonna basically have a holding tank in on Beach Street, which they have now. And they would send down effluent at night and do it during off-peak times. It's only 90,000 gallons a day, and quite frankly, it'd be easy to do off-peak. And
It's really not that much.
no, and the last thing is all of the Woodridge Lake sewers gets pumped into this one pumping station, and then from that point, it goes, it's a 50-year-old pipe, high pressure pipe that goes across a swamp,
Mhm.
the wetlands, then ultimately up to their treatment facility.
Yep.
And these guys at Woodridge Lake, I mean, Ray Turry, I don't know if you know Ray, but I met with him and he took me around. He loses sleep because he's saying, you know, that thing's gonna blow. It's gonna blow. It's an old pipe. So not only is it, so anyways, long story short.
And what do you do with all those people when that thing goes?
Oh, my God. And the other problem is they've had a consent order since 1989. 30 years they haven't done.
Yeah, and they haven't,
They had the ability to find them $25,000 a day. They never did one. And the other thing that gets me is they're still allowing new construction in Woodridge Lake.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
shouldn't be
that-
allowed any new
Right.
construction until they fix it.
Oh,
No, they're putting up houses still.
well, tell me where it's going down Beach Street.
They want to come down Beach Street.
would be,
Yeah.
put a high pressure pipe. The other people on Beach Street they're saying the problem is that, you know, you're gonna kill our trees.
They're not
The
gonna.
real reason is they don't want a pipe in there because they're worried about housing developments going and, you know, tying into the pipe.
Well, you can't tie into that pipe.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
can't tie into it. They don't realize you can't tie into a high
It's not,
pressure pipe.
no, you can't tie into it.
So it takes, you know, it is not, you know,
And they think it's gonna it's not gonna change anything. They're gonna put it under the curb line down the road and they're gonna go.
and the other thing, you know, I've done an economic study. I've seen one. I mean, honestly, Litchfield has the ability to freaking, and Woodridge is willing to pay user fees. I mean, they're willing, I mean, honestly, Litchfield, WPCA can make this, you know, a profit opportunity.
Yeah.
Because Woodridge Lake's got nowhere to go and they'll pay, right now, Ray Curry's saying he's paying $5,000 a year as it is for his sewer bill. I mean,
Can't they set up a full treatment plant up there though? Because right now they've got leach fields.
yeah, but it's a ridge and furrow system, right?
Yeah,
It is, it's basically a fancy leach field.
that's what it is.
Quite
Yeah.
frankly, when it was approved in 1989 or whenever it's the 70s, they put it, I'm sorry.
That was 70, yeah.
It was approved based on those rules back then, and it's still operating exactly the way it was intended. It's not like it's failing.
Yeah.
It's that the rules have gotten, you know, the laws have gotten better and more tighter and stricter. But to your point, the state won't let them. $38 million bill, the state will not let them put a new system in.
DEP, I did one that was under those same things in an apartment complex. Where it had the, what do I call it?
Ridge and furrow? Or
No, you were saying the state has against them,
consent order?
the consent order. And this was, it was a $750,000 septic system we put in. But that consent order, what they built was insane. Like what we built, what they designed. And DEP is so understaffed. I had to go to Hartford to a pre-construction meeting at their office. Went in there, they went over all this stuff, how we're gonna do it, made sure everything was in line, never saw them again.
Yeah.
They don't care. They said, we don't have the staff to go do inspections, we don't have anything, so just go build it.
The reason why this.
They have the ability to write more regulations though,
Yeah,
which they do on a regular basis.
yeah, they said all they wanted to do is see it on paper.
Yeah.
That's it.
So the state will not let them, because what did Jack said, let us put in a new upgraded modern system. And the state said, no, we only advocate regional systems. So here.
That's why they want
An
them down
opportunity
here.
to do in Litchfield, and they didn't force Litchfield to do that two-part study.
Hmm.
They're not, they're not forcing Litchfield to do anything about this regional solution, yet they won't let Woodridge Lake put their own thing. So back to the alum, we think it's a 15-year problem before this thing gets fixed. So in the meantime, we said to the state, at least, give us the funding to do the alum treatment. That will solve the algae problem in Bantam for 10 years. And hopefully by then they'll have,
And then they can get off their back ends and,
Do something.
anyways, I didn't want to bore you.
Yeah.
That's
No, it's good.
basically the-
That's good information.
That's crazy. So Connie's looking for some of that 100,000 we have to. Sorry, right up in.
Right up in treasure belt. All right, there's no,
I think that's what she's getting at, and
All right.
we're gonna have some discussions with. the
okay, if
state.
there's no other new business, we have a motion to adjourn.
Make it.
Other,
So moved.
all right. Your meeting adjourned at 6:52. Thank you.
To the next one. I gotta go listen to these two guys complain about